This is Fulcrum. It's named after the MiG-29 Fulcrum. It is a very, very nice flying plane. It's kind of a hybrid dart glider, but it just flies so good. It tracks super straight. I've never had an issue with any of these turning or changing, and it looks fairly cool. This particular example is made out of A4. It can be folded out of letter size though. And if I remember right, I don't believe you have to do any changes. I don't think it looks quite as nice in letter, and it also flies a bit more nose heavy in letter. It isn't quite as much of a hybrid, it's much more of a dart. The design can be augmented. These extra wing extensions, rather than being folded out, can be tucked in to create less drag and make it behave more like a dart. And there's also some other tricks you can do to shorten the fuselage, make it smaller, make it a bit more of a dart, but there's a point where that no longer is this plane. So anyways, as far as Fulcrum itself is concerned, time for folding. So start, you fold in half. Fulcrum was the precursor to Intruder, which is this plane, which Fulcrum flies honestly way better than Intruder though. Right, after it's folded in half, anyone who's familiar with Intruder, you fold the point. It's kind of funny because I'm filming the video for Intruder before Fulcrum, even though Fulcrum was designed long, long before Intruder. But either way, I also personally find Fulcrum a bit easier to fold than Intruder. It's just a more stable design in every sense of the word. So this edge, it's folded down to there. And then the point gets removed. This edge gets hard creased, and the one awkward bit about this design is it requires a tiny little skinny front to be folded over. So we fold this in half once, open it up, and to that new halfway mark we fold a tiny little sliver. I did this so that there would be a little bit more rip resistance on this bit here. It makes it just a little bit stiffer, a little bit less likely to rip. Although there probably would be a way to redesign the plane without it, but if anything, it adds a bit of nose weight. Right, then we fold a micro point from that edge to this crease here, like so. All right, these points get unfolded, and then we pop it out like that and fold it back down. This just helps the layers sit just a little bit better, because when these are folded under, it can get annoying sometimes the way that the layers end up sitting. So I've just gotten used to doing that. Now, this edge, this folded over point, gets folded to this line, making sure it's adjacent and parallel. And then the full edge gets creased all the way through here. And that lines up like that. Now the way I like to fold this is by doing that, popping that out, folding it over. There's 1,000,001 ways to do this though. This is just my personal preference. Because this guarantees symmetry and it's also the fastest way I've learned to fold. And that just gets cleaned up. All right, next up, we're left with this. Fold that and pop it out. Again, there are 1,000,001 ways to do this. All this is doing is just getting a center line crease that I'll show later. This is just my personal preference once again. This is easily, though, one of my personal favorite planes. Now, what those did is they made it so that this sits flush on the middle, these layers. And you could have just done that too by, folding that in half, popping these both, and then just doing that, flipping it over, etc. Like I said, there's 1,000,001 ways. So we're left with a rabbit ear, and then we squash it. As in my other video on Intruder, sorry if the camera is picking up my dad, who's currently sick, and directly underneath me. Right, now we are gonna fold these streaks. So the reference point is we go through there, and then we make sure nothing passes that intersection. So let me fold this first, and then I can show what I'm doing. So when I fold there, you see all this does is this doesn't creep up that intersection. It just creates it changes the degree of the triangle. However, it still goes through that point. And that's the way that it can stay a functioning design with letter size, because instead of it being on that point, it just gets with that edge. Anyways, that gets repeated. Now, the way I've folded this over, these front triangles won't really sit right yet. That's just, unfortunately, a fact of paper. That's kind of just how it works. Right, these get unfolded. Actually, yeah, I should do this here. Or no. Yeah, okay, these get popped up. And these get pushed back. Makes it just a tad bit more aerodynamic. Now for probably the most awkward fold of the plane. Also, you'll have to squish these down, because, like I said earlier, they just kind of don't sit right. So we are going to fold the wings, which is going to be this edge to the center line. Unfortunately, due to everything here, it's kind of hard to see where the center line is, so you have to guesstimate where it is. And also you can line it up there and through the point, and then if you need to, you can flip it over and check alignment. This triangle, it'll generally go right through that point, but sometimes you'll have to push this up because it'll come down a little bit too much, and yeah. And flip over and repeat.
Turn the air on.
Okay.
Because the temperature.
I'm doing a video. All right. Impromptu visit from my mom. It's going up on YouTube.
Oh.
Have fun. All right. Well, now I have my dog in my room in his crate. Right. Now for the locking mechanism. This point gets folded over. Can be done on either side. And then it gets tugged up. The tighter you pull this, the better. Just not too much, because too much tension will cause things to rip. Then it gets folded up on this edge. It's just a simple wraparound design. If everything's folded correctly, that edge there should roughly line up with that. And then we fold this to that edge. Sorry for me saying this and that a lot, but also my channel gets like 3 viewers, most of whom are friends of mine. So then that gets tucked into there. And repeat it on the other side. This is where the funness of the remaining part of the locking mechanism gets done. This gets folded up just like the other side. Now, this gets bent in and under that pocket, and that creates a layer lock. That makes it very flush and nice. All right, that's Fulcrum. Now you have to get a tiny bit of dihedral, not enough to crease the locking, but just a little bit is generally necessary, like that much. Kind of has a fun gull wing type look. Generally it also needs a little bit of up trim, not too much though. And anyways, yes, this is it. As I said, it's a very nice flying plane. Tracks very straight, flies mediocre distance, longer than Intruder. It actually flies fairly far. Last school year, I was shooting this across my high school gym and hitting the ceiling on either corner. But anyways, that's it.